Okay, let's finish up this recording session in which I'm looking at a whole bunch of actually new stuff, which is weird. It's been a while, like several months, but yeah, I have some new stuff to look up. But yeah, let's wrap this up with Studio Series Bumblebee movie Megatron, specifically the concept art, I believe, Megatron. And this is a figure that I have thoughts about. I think a lot of people have thoughts about it. The robot mode, I feel like undeniably looks great. There's a lot of gray plastic, but like there's a lot of interspersed silver and some black and some red that really helps a lot with like the breakup and the detailing. I feel like, I do want to get the Reaper label set for this guy, but I don't feel like it's strictly necessary. I think if there wasn't one, I'd be just as content with the look of this guy as I would be with the Reaper labels. He hits a couple of Megatron keynotes that I think really go a long way to like pushing that idea of him being Megatron. One being red in the biceps, which, not strictly speaking necessary, but it still gets the point across. And even though the head does look different, it's still got that somewhat telltale Megatron head shape, where it looks a little bit like a tiered bonbon. And of course, giant fusion cannon stapled to his arm. So I like that he gets the point of, this being Megatron across. Again, starting in robot mode, because with a lot of this new stuff, I figured that's the mode it comes packaged in. So we'll look at it in robot mode first and then worry about getting to the different vehicle modes and whatnot. But yeah, this guy looks really good. He's got some really nice molding all around him. He's incredibly clean too. The robot mode is like, it's one of those things where this is not something that I feel like you can say very often with official Hasbro stuff. But I feel like barring a few simple things, like, if you look carefully, you can see some hinges somewhere and there's like the tank treads on the backs of the thighs and the stuff going on here. But like aside from that stuff, it doesn't really look like he transforms. He basically has no kibble and he just looks good. He looks really good. Good colors, great molding. And yeah, that... I have plenty of nice things to say about the robot mode. My feelings about some of the other aspects of this figure are a little complicated. But before we get to that, let's just look at that head sculpt. So bring you a little bit closer. Oh, went up too high. Okay. So as I said, the head is very Megatron. It's got that same shape. The difference between the lower section and the upper section is not quite as pronounced. It's a bit more of a gradual slope, but it's still the right shape. And of course, it's silver. And also because this is the live action, in this case, Bumblebee Megatron design, it's covered in greebles. But I like that it's silver all the way around. And of course, the face is also silver, and then the red eyes do pop quite nicely. There's a lot of molding on this. A lot of little details. The face looks, it's like a lot of the live action stuff where the face maybe looks a little bit over-greebled, but I don't mind it. I think the head looks fine. It's maybe a little bit small. I don't think it's actually like really too small. It kind of works in like a super robot kind of sense. But, it's maybe a little small, but I think they mostly did that so it would fit in the chest cavity for transformation. So, that is the head. Now, for the articulation on this guy is pretty intense. So, the head is on a ball joint. It doesn't really get any worthwhile side-to-side tilt. Can look up and down. Well, can't really look down much, but it can look up. Also, if you disconnect, there's a little tab on this plate that the head sits on that tabs into the back. If you pull that back a little bit so you can pull the tab out, you can get the plate disconnected, and that allows him to look down more, a lot more if you really want, but like if you want him to have like a little bit of a slope down with the angle of the head, you could do that. But I'm just for now going to keep that securely tabbed in. The shoulders, let's raise this up just a little bit more. The shoulders do go all the way around. They go out to 90, and there's also, both for the transformation and just because, a butterfly joint. So you can go forward, you can go back slightly, and yeah, some nice shoulder articulation. You get a bicep rotation, you get a single jointed elbow that bends well past 90. In addition to the bicep rotation, you also get forearm rotation. So you can rotate the forearm independently of the bicep for the transformation, but something you could potentially use for articulation. The hand moves in and out as part of the transformation. It also rotates. And then the fingers are pinned. The main, like the three back fingers, whatever, are pinned at the knuckle, and then also up in towards the front here. So you got two different hinges on the fingers, and then the index finger is also two different hinges. So you can do a little bit of posing with the fingers, which is cool. You get waist rotation that can go all the way around without any problems. There are the hip skirts that can go out. The front skirts go forward, which is a little weird, but that's how it works. You can, with the front skirts out of the way, kick forward about that far. I'll zoom out a little bit more. You can kick forward about that far, can kick back about that far, can go out that far. If this is completely out of the way, you can go out even further, as this is on a separate hinge for part of the transformation. You get a thigh rotation. You also get a knee bend that is well past 90 degrees. It kind of wants to stop here, but you can just go past that. So yeah, nice knee bend. And then finally, the feet do actually go forward and back and tilt to the inside. They don't tilt to the outside, but they tilt to the inside. So he's pretty darn posable. I dig that. And he comes with his fusion cannon, which is his fusion cannon. There's just one bit of paint on it, that little red dot there. And that's all it is. You can do stuff like, if you wanted to, you could peg this onto his shoulder. And that kind of does the G1 Megatron shoulder cannon thing. Or you can peg it more down here, so it's a little bit more in keeping with the G1 Megatron look, though it still sticks up a little bit too high. Also, because of this hinge here, if you peg this onto his back, you can hinge it forward and give him like a shoulder-mounted artillery cannon, basically. So you could do that. And I think, I haven't really tried this, but I think you can also do something similar if you peg it in here, because that swings forward more, but it also sticks out a lot further in the back. And for storage, you can actually store this which way do you move this? Okay. So if you untab this and then rotate this light gray part and then tab it back in here, then you can hinge this up, and then the little tab thing on the tip of the gun barrel will tab into this little slot here, and that just kind of holds it all together. And then this can just store on his back in using either of the pegs. So that's how that does. I don't know. You could do it. But it's Megatron. I feel like there's not really much point to doing that, so I just keep this rotated around and pegged into his forearm, because that's where it belongs to me. So yeah, there's Megatron's robot mode. He looks cool, he's very posable, and he is leader class, so he's pretty reasonably sized in terms of height. Let's readjust this a little bit here. So bring in our usual size comparisons. Here he is with Voyager, with a Tall Deluxe, with a regular Deluxe, and with Samus. So there is how Megatron measures up there. As I said, he's rather he's rather tall because he is a leader. Also, I have to say, I forgot to mention this earlier, but he's kind of heavy and dense. Like there's a lot of plastic on this guy because there's a lot of parts. He does a lot. Comparing him to another leader, here he is with Generation Select's leader Galvatron. And they're about the same height. Maybe a little bit. Maybe Megatron's just a tiny bit taller at the head, but Galvatron has the head crest. And here you can also see proportionally how his head looks kind of tiny, but his body's also a little bit slimmer, so there's that. Compared to another Megatron, let's bring in a Voyager Megatron. Here he is with Legacy Voyager Minor Megatron. So there is how those two stack up. And now, for this is the size comparison I'd actually been wanting to make for a fair bit. I actually went out of my way to make sure that I had enough videos done in advance because I had this guy pre-ordered. I wanted to make sure that, get you out of the way, that I could do this particular side-by-side, these two particular side-by-sides. So there is Leader Megatron. We'll bring in Monocrat Megatank. Wow, that is still not even close to enough space. This guy is gigantic. I always forget just how enormous this thing is. So let me get all of these slightly off-camera figures out of the way and pull back a little bit more. So there we go. There we've got Monocrat Megatank with Studio Series Bumblebee movie Megatron and, you know, Monocrat Megatank. Like, Megatank is gigantic, so yeah, that shouldn't be a surprise. That is how those two measure up. And this is a bigger desk than the one I used to have, and it's still difficult to find space for everything. And this is the other video that I wanted to have done in time for this guy. So I wanted to bring in Skybreaker, which I think is from Black Mamba, but I could be wrong. But there is Bumblebee Megatron with Skybreaker. And again, he's a leader class figure versus these very gigantic third-party or knockoff of third-party figures. So it stands to reason that he's not going to be as tall. All right, zoom back in here. We've got one more size comparison to do, the all-important one. Here is Megatron with the Duck Tank. Okay, that was a lot of off-screen, very complex and time-consuming transformations. I swear, like, there's going to be about 30 to 40 minutes cut out of this. It's just me transforming stuff. Anyway, before we transform Megatron here, if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you would like to offer up some support, I do have a Ko-fi or a Patreon. Links to both are at the end of this video as well as down in the description. Otherwise, if you would like to support things without money, which I completely understand, you can always do the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe. But with that out of the way, let us turn Megatron into something. So I'm going to do the flight mode first, because that's the mode that I have the most problems with. And also, it means I don't have to disconnect and then reconnect the hips. So first thing, and this is kind of like a given for both modes, you want to close up the hands. And I find it's easiest to like close up the fingers like this so that the fingers kind of go over the palm, but close up the index finger so that it tucks inside the thumb. then you can pop open this panel, flip the fist in, and there is that. And same deal here. Sometimes easier to pop the panel open when the hand's open, but tuck the fingers over the palm, curl in the index finger inside the thumb, and then close it up. There we go. Now I'm gonna flare out the hip skirts and swing them around to the back. I'm gonna take the chest, and the chest does untab from here on both sides. And with that untabbed, you can then pull out the arms and untab the back from everything. And this comes out on like a very multi-hinge system here. So untab that, swing all of this up, and I'm just going to temporarily flare out these little bits here so that we can grab the nose cone section, fold that out, fold it out, and then take these and fold them back in, and they can just kind of tuck in like that. Now, this will actually go back over the rest of the body. So the lower hinge goes in, black hinge goes out, and then this comes back down on top of everything. And we'll just leave it like this for now. There's a certain thing I like to do with the arms that I think makes this mode a little bit easier, but for now, that's what we're going to do with the upper body. For the lower body, going to take the front skirts and push them both out. Now, I want to bring the leg out, rotate it around, and this is going to tab into here. But before we do all that, we want to take care of the legs proper. So I'm going to tilt the feet forward just to get them out of the way. Take this panel here and untab it, straighten it out to make a wing, and then push it the rest of the way forward. I'm going to rotate this so that it's pointed out. And now things get a little complicated. So we want to unpeg the tank treads here from the inside of the leg. We also want to untab the knee section because it actually kind of pegs in here, right in here. So we want to untab all of this, rotate this tread section out. Now we can fold this in, and this piece here will tab in here, and then there's this little piece here that will tab in here. So bring this in and tab that in, and then this piece is kind of clicks in like that. The leg, the shin section, let me just zoom out so you can actually see what I'm talking about. For the shin section, this kind of hinges back. I'm doing that wrong. This hinges back and around. I want to fold the foot in, and then as this comes back, this tab here will tab into this slot on the underside of the foot. And that will lock all that together. This thigh piece folds all the way out, and now this rotates out like this because you want this gray piece that tabs in there, and then I rotated the thigh wrong, so you want to actually rotate the thigh this way, and then fold the arm kind of up and out of the way, bring this in, and this will tab into the thigh there. And I'm going to do the arms last because they are fiddly. But other leg, same deal. Hopefully I'll do it a little bit better this time. Let's do this out, untab this and fold that out, untab the tread section, untab the knee section, untab the knee section, tabs in pretty well, but untab all that, swing out treads, fold in the foot, bring this down and tab it into the, actually no, you don't want to do that yet. I want to fold this in, and tab this into the back of the knee, and then tab this into here. Then this can come out and around and tab into You don't want to peg it into the knee. This actually won't actually fit that way, but you want to tab this into tread. Then we can rotate this around, rotate this around, extend that piece, bring this up, and also get the arm out of the way, and tab that in again. And now for the arms, what I find works best is these have to come down, and what'll happen is these tabs on the forearm will tab into these slots on the thighs. What I find works best is to find where the elbow is, rotate the bicep so that it can bend down like this, then rotate this out, bring this down, and use that elbow joint to help you get bicep or the forearm lined up, and then peg it into the inside of the thigh. And something to keep in mind is things are not going to be straight. Like, this is something I struggled with so much with this figure, and it's something that I just had to kind of learn by messing around with it. And that is, these forearms are not going to be straight when they peg in. They're going to be at like a slight angle. They're not going to be flush with the bottom of the jet, and that's fine, but that's how it's going to go together. So again, rotate bicep, bring this down, get it situated so that we can tab into the thigh. And again, it'll be kind of sitting out at a weird angle, but that's fine. And then the hip skirts just kind of come down, and this, in its basicness, is the See, this is this is one of the reasons why I'm not too super fond of this mode. But this is the flight mode, and it is certainly a thing. Another thing you can do is this can technically go in this mode, but it's terrible. Basically what you do is this is going to untab from here, rotate this, and tab it in this way. Now the little peg here will peg into the forearm, and one of the reasons why I don't like this is because it's like you have to hinge this out, and it's just not, things aren't going to line up right, but like that's part of the design. So there's a little tab right there, little tab that will actually tab into this little hole in the front there. And so you just kind of angle that in and tab it in, and it's not going to sit great. It just kind of is a guideline, but it'll go in, and that lets you store the gun underneath the flight mode, and it's not symmetrical, nothing is lined up, it's leaned off to one side, and it's just weird. And I just don't like how that works. I don't really like I think the flight mode looks fine, but I don't like the way it comes together. I don't really have any fondness for the way that it transforms. Like, certain things hold together really well, but it all kind of falls apart when we get to the arms, and that's what really bums me out about this mode. I really wish that those arms had some other way to more solidly tab in place. I wish there was a way for the waist to lock in better. It's very, very not quite, like, so you can see the arms keep coming untabbed just from me like holding it and trying to readjust things. It's not a fantastic way to make Megatron turn into a vehicle, but turn into a vehicle he do. And before we get any further, I'm going to take the blast effect and see if it sits inside the thrusters on the back, but it doesn't really peg in, so can't really use that. I can see if it'll peg onto these little bits on the... it kind of pegs in. Doesn't hold super well, but it kind of pegs in on those nubs over the fist, where the fists were. Though the fusion cannon, I forgot to show this in robot mode, but the fusion cannon does accommodate less spec parts. So there's that. But yeah, like you're looking at this from the front, it looks kind of lopsided and weird. Like things are just not really aligned where they need to be, but they're super difficult to get aligned where they need to be, and it's just it's an annoying mess. Now that I've kind of figured out some of the nuances for getting to this mode, it doesn't bother me as much, but I'm still not super enthusiastic about it. And again, like, it looks fine. It's kind of a mess, but it is what it is. Color, like, it's all pretty much everything we saw in robot mode, with the exception of the vehicle cockpit section, which does look good. I like the black with the red line going around the side, like either really small bright red windows or lights. That's cool. But like, so much of this is just wow. I kind of think it's cool how these bits come out to make like little pointy bits for the front of the wings, and this just came untapped again. But yeah, it's just like the arm stuff is very messy. The fusion cannon, the way it's handled in this mode, is not great. If you want to, you can peg fusion cannon into the top section of the jet or vehicle, whatever, flight mode here, and that works slightly better, kind of. It's not really, but it's a thing. I wish this looked better when it was pegged in down here. Like, even if there was just a way for it to like peg into the back of the robot mode head or something like that, then it would sit better, but whatever. I'm not bothered by the messiness because this is a Cybertronian mode. It's, you know, fast travel mode. It's not a disguise. So that doesn't bother me. It's just that a lot of it is kind of ropey, especially, as I said, around the arms. But it is what it is. And now, because this is just Megatron folded into a pretzel, the vehicle mode is not really any smaller or more compact than the robot. We bring in Voyager, All Deluxe, Regular Deluxe, and Samus. There you can see that Megatron is pretty big. But again, that's partially because it's a robot that's just splooted out into a weird little pseudo vehicle mode pose thing. I'll raise this up a little bit more to get more of a downward angle. There we go. So yeah, bigger than a deluxe, which makes sense, but eh. And as he compares to a different leader class Megatron adjacent figure, there he is with Generation Selects Galvatron. Galvatron is a bit more cohesive, comes together a little bit better, but he's also not a triple changer, so there's that. Here is Minor Megatron, who is a Voyager, but again, he does kind of look like a more cohesive vehicle mode. And now, we're saving Megatank for the tank mode, but we are going to bring in Skybreaker, who for some reason he was fighting me a lot in the transformation, and now the wings are tilted down, and I don't really understand why, but whatever. But here is Skybreaker with Megatron, and Megatron is a lot smaller. I mean, also keep in mind, this is a slightly undersized version of Unique Toys Dragoon, so the official, not official, but the non-knockoff is a little bit bigger. But yeah, that's how the two flight modes stack up. And finally, bring them both in a little bit more again. Here is Studio Series Bumblebee Megatron with the Duck Tank. All right. Now, to get him ready for his tank mode, we're going to take the fusion cannon and untap it again. Now we're going to flip this other panel out. There we go. Flip this other panel out. And this will accordion out, and this tab will go into the base of the fusion cannon. And I am going to rotate it around this way because I prefer to have the red bit pointed up along with this bit. So that's going to be tank barrel. Now for the rest of this. This is yeah, some stuff's happening. So we're going to move these out. Going to fold in the nose, and it does actually, there's like a little tab and slot here. It doesn't like peg in solidly, it's more of a guide, but that will hold it in place. Untab the arms if they're not already untabbed, and just kind of get them up and out of the way. I'm going to untab the front skirts from the legs so that those can come down and also get out of the way. Bring these out, and now open this all up, accordion it out. Now what I like to do is pull this down and push this platform forward, because with that out of the way, it allows me to get a finger under here to pull these panels up. It's a little bit easier to come at them from that angle, but pull those up and flare them out all the way. And now going to rotate the robot head 180 degrees and then fold this all back into here. And then this nose cone section will now tuck into the torso like it was before. The hip skirts will go back down and will just stay like that. And now for the legs, I'm going to unpeg this from here. I'm just going to bring that out. This untabs from here, and I find it's best to kind of pull it out this way, like pull this way, because this tab kind of locks in a little bit. So what you want to do, zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, just kind of want to pull it just a little bit out like this. Just pull that out, and that'll untab it a lot easier. So pull it out, then pull back to untab this. Fold this back in, and then this piece also, this piece folds back in. This will accordion back. And now what happens here is, well, first off, I want to rotate this so that rotate the thigh so that this light gray piece is on the inside, but zoom out again. So this will double hinge back. And as this double hinges back, this tab, there was this tab before, but now this tab will go into that spot in the center of the foot. So this comes down, this comes in and tabs over that. This piece will come down and go back in here. There's like a little tab here that sits in there. But what you want to do first, because it's easier to do it when it's in this position, is fold the wingtip up like that. Then bring it in. You want it sticking in like this. And same deal with this leg. I'm going to untab this and bring this out. And fold this in while we're at it. Fold that in. Take this and fold it out a little bit. And fold that wingtip up. Untab this from that other section and then pull this out. Straighten all of this out. And then fold. Gotta remember, fold that in. Now bring this in, and this will tab into the tab there. Rotate all that. And there we go. Now, the hips are on kind of like a Kingdom Megatron slash Legacy Dragon Megatron hinge. So you want to unclip them from the pelvis section. And then pull them out. And same deal here. Unpeg and pull out. There we go. The hip skirts will just fold down to the side like that, and that kind of helps to brace these so that they don't go back up, which is kind of nice. With this still out of the way, I want to rotate the thighs up, or rotate the hips up, and then bring this in, and this tab here will tab into the top of what used to be the wing. And that just pegs in like that. It's not super secure, but it holds. And same deal here. Rotate it up. Oh, forgot to bring that down. Rotate it up and tab it in there. Keep these down. And we are almost done. Last thing to do is going to bring up the arms so that we can bring this whole assembly down and not have the arms get in the way. So this section here will actually go over this tab here. And then this piece has like a little bit of a lip. This piece has a little bit of a lip to it that will go over this piece here. So I want to bring that down, and it will kind of solidly click. And you want it to solidly click, otherwise things aren't going to hold together quite right. And then this can come down, solidly click, and this kind of sits with that. You can kind of see that the little black piece is now going over the lighter gray piece. And that will lock all of this in and keep it from being weird, basically. And finally, these pieces come back down, and you want to find that elbow again. You want to rotate the biceps that the elbow is pointing in, and then rotate the forearm so that the peg hole is facing in. And basically that's how you want that done. Same deal here. Rotate the bicep, rotate the forearm. Then we can bring in the fusion cannon, peg that into one side, bring this down. It's just accordions in, and you'll want it at an angle, like about a 45-degree angle, because there's this little tab here that'll tab into a little slot there, and that will angle the arms out like that. Then we can bring this in, and peg the cannon into the other forearm. And finally, the transformation step that I and everyone else always forgets. These little bits back here. There are these little tank treads that you just pull down. Just pull those out. You got little catches on either side so you could pull up. And it doesn't really accomplish much, but it does pull them down, and it levels them out more with this here. And that came untabbed, I think, at one point. So let's get that resituated. Oh, no, that is tabbed in. Okay. So yeah, there is Bumblebee Movie Megatron's tank mode, and it is, I'm inclined to say less of a mess than the flight mode, jet mode, whatever you want to call it, but not by much. It is more cohesively tank, kind of. It's the big thing with this is you've got, like, more than anything, it's the robot chest sticking so far out of the front that I'm kind of like, I don't know. But it looks more or less like a robot folded up into a tank. You also do get rotation, though it's towards the back, so it looks really weird if you rotate it too far. But I don't hate it. I mean, I don't really hate the flight mode either, but I'm not a fan of it. But like, this mode, I think, is probably his best of the two, which isn't really saying much. But it's fine. If you want, you can rotate this up or down slightly. You can kind of use the shoulders a little bit, but because of the way they're pegged in, not really. It doesn't roll because these tank treads are just for show. There are no wheels down there. And you've got robot face just kind of staring at you. Thing is, if you rotated it around, then the robot face would just be staring from up here. So, yeah, you're kind of stuck with what you choose. It also stinks that, like, if this wasn't in the way, the head could tuck in there and kind of hide away better. And then you know, but like now you've got this gap here. So I feel like this didn't necessarily need to be on a rotating plank, but it is what it is. That's how they designed it. But yeah, this tank mode is certainly trying to be a tank mode, kind of. And just like the jet mode, you're not really getting any new reveals here. Actually, you're getting less, because with the jet mode, you at least had the cockpit section that came out. But in this, really all you're getting are like the treads on the sides and these treads back here. Everything else is stuff that you're seeing in robot mode. But I guess maybe the insides of the joints back here are new, if you want to count those. But yeah. So it's the robot just concertinaed up, yoga posed up into a tank adjacent vehicle mode. And it's fine. This one, I'm more keen on getting into this mode and actually having this as a mode than the flight mode, because the flight mode is just so, like, it's just those arms. I really wish, like, I don't even mind the arms being there. I just wish they had a more solid way of locking in. I wish that the waist wouldn't rotate, and I wish that the thighs wouldn't rotate. Like, it's clever how the front skirts here tab into the hips to keep those from moving around in the jet mode. That is clever, but I wish they had done something similar to like the thigh swivels and the waist swivel, and also I wish the arms pegged in better. But oh well. But you know, saying this is the most successful alt mode of the two isn't really saying much. But I don't dislike it. It's just, it could have been maybe a little bit stronger. You know, size-wise, again, it's just kind of like, this one I feel like the size compacts just a little bit because now it's more Megatron rolled up into more of a ball. But we bring in our usual size comparisons. Here he is with the Voyager and the Tall Deluxe and Samus. So there is all of that. And then, of course, let's start bringing in the actual useful size comparisons, or at least semi-useful. So here he is with a standard deluxe, standard-ish deluxe with burnout, and he is definitely bigger. As I said, not as spread out as the Jet, so like he compacts a little bit more. He's denser, very heavy, but yeah, there he is. Next to a deluxe, next to another leader. He is with Generation Selects Galvatron, and Galvatron does appear bigger, but like he kind of stretches out more towards the back. So there's that. Also, the two of them, like, I thought he was going to be heavier, but like they both feel about the same. So I feel like overall mass and weight wise, there's not much difference, but like Megatron's a triple changer, as I said. Galvatron is not. I mean, I guess technically you could try and pretend he's a gun if you just hold up the little stand-in back, but that's silly. I wouldn't count that as a third real mode. But anyway, here he is with Minor Megatron. And this is interesting. I think actually it's kind of cool how the vehicle modes are like very roughly, approximately, like about the same size. They look to be about the same size, but as we saw in robot mode, this Megatron is way bigger. And now we bring in the other giant third-party, actual third-party Megatron comparison for tank mode. Here he is with Monocrat Megatank. And big surprise, the Megatron that is so much bigger in robot mode is also so much bigger in tank mode. And also, this one, as a reminder, not just, he doesn't just roll, he rolls incredibly well because of all the weight and the wheels being pretty free rolling. So yeah, that's the two of them together. Oh, it was not worth spending so much time transforming all of this stuff off camera. Oh well, but finally, bring things in just a little bit more here to round things off. We've got our most important of size comparisons. We've got the messy tank with the duck tank. And that will do it for Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Megatron. And I am actually, if I'm being honest, a little disappointed in this guy. The robot mode is spectacular. Absolutely no qualms with that. The articulation and just the overall look of the robot mode is great. The transformation for like the tank, I don't mind at all. I think it's got some of its merits that I like a fair bit. It's just like the flight mode is not great, and the way that some of this kind of doesn't really come together, again, more for the flight mode than anything, is just kind of a disappointment. The tank mode is not great, but I'm not too bothered by it being not great because while, yes, it doesn't really look all that spectacular, it's a Cybertronian mode. It's, the flight mode is his fast travel mode. This is like his heavy duty, gonna mess things up mode, other than the robot mode. So I can understand that. I can get behind that. It's just there are definitely it's just a shame that the alt modes on this guy are his weakest parts, because there's so much that this figure does that's actually pretty cool. There's so many moving parts, so much detail, and some really nice paint on this guy. A lot of the components for holding the robot mode or even the tank mode together are actually quite solid. It's just that light mode is just so tertiary, I guess, which I suppose makes sense for the triple changer. One of those modes by definition is going to be tertiary, but it still disappoints me. Though I will say, I don't have the problem that I saw some people have with the knees, where this panel was coming down when you bend the knee. I'm not having that problem here. That's actually nice and stiff. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm really having a hard time deciding if this is something that could have been done better or not. I think, given the constraints and this needing to be a real thing, it's fine. And again, because this is from the Bumblebee movie, but it's concept art, a lot of the other Bumblebee movie figures, they didn't have anything from the actual movie to go with. So I think with that in mind, it's fine. I think this turned out just fine. The vehicle modes being kind of is fine, because they did that with all of the Bumblebee movie figures that didn't actually either appear in the movie or didn't have alt modes that appeared in the movie. So pretty much all of the Autobots other than Bumblebee and Prime, it's just, I get it. And the fact that his Cybertronian modes are a little bit doesn't bother me too much, because they're his Cybertronian modes and they didn't really have anything to work off of. It was just, let's see what we can make Megatron turn into. So it's fine. It's just I feel like it probably would have been better if they, rather than make him a triple changer, they just made him a really solid, Megatron that turns into a tank, or Megatron that turns into a jet. He didn't need to be both. But, this is what they did. And again, I don't hate him. I'm just a little bit disappointed, mostly because of the flight mode, but it's whatever. I feel like I've said more than enough on this, and I've been recording for so long. I just want to sit down. So that has been my look at Bumblebee Studio Series, I believe 109, Bumblebee movie Megatron. Despite my griping, I do like the figure. Robot mode is fantastic. It's just the other stuff kind of lets down a bit. But that's all I've got to say, because I'm repeating myself again, even though I just noted that I was repeating myself. So what do you all think of this guy? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And next time, I'm out of new stuff that I acquired recently to cover, so we're going back to the well. I don't know what that is, but we're going back to something I've had for a while.